Rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Flag, United States of
Alright,
America,
America.
To the republic
Individuals,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
with
justice.
liberty,
justice for all.
justice.
Thank you very much. Before I begin, take the roll. Richard Hawes,
Here,
George Sibularis. Here. Tina Perdidas. Present. Travis Brown is excused. John McKenna. Present. Mary Jones,
Here.
Dan Valentine. Here. Mary McBride,
Present.
Mike Ray. Here. Kathy Marr is excused. Next, public comment. Anybody here for public comment? Anybody online?
Yes, Chair, there's a hand raised on Zoom.
Okay.
Tom Lincoln,
He's here for the dam.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tom Lincoln from the Middlesex Canal Commission. I'm wondering why there is a continuance proposed once again for the Talbot Mill removal project.
That's actually on the agenda as number 3, and there will be an explanation at that time. Okay,
Okay, I would like to be able to comment at that point too.
it is a, I believe it's still a public hearing. We're just,
Yes.
hearing is still open.
yeah. So yes, you can comment at that time.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Chair, there are no other hands raised.
Okay, we'll move to item 1, number 1, Trouble Cove Road. From a minor. Do you have a,
Refer to Joel with the, as far as the sign goes.
okay,
And the front.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joel Perry. I'm with Graphics Unlimited. I think everybody has the packet that I had submitted that shows the drawings, mock-ups.
yeah, we see that.
Chair on the screen in just a moment.
Okay.
Pulling it up.
We presently have a little freestanding storefront with a internally illuminated electronic box, sign box, on the facade. And it's dated. And one of the things that, we'd like to do is to kind of modernize that a little bit while working within the historic district. So one of the things that I had done is a little bit of research back into the building. John and I were just discussing it. I go back as far as, I think, 1913 was the original wood building, and then sometime in the mid-70s was the new construction that we're talking about now, the little brick building. And, you know, even prior to the 70s, mostly in the 60s, at that time, there were a lot of retail operations such as W.T. Graham, Woolworths, Firestone. And back then, of course, it was a lot of it was ceramic and porcelain, which is kind of obsolete in today's materials. But I was kind of trying to reproduce that look where I would have a backer on the building being a brushed aluminum. And then the individual letters that would be raised off of the backer. And I just wanted a subtle background because my goal, of course, would be to have the letters be the most prominent part of the sign. And I also didn't want the backer to be an integral part of the sign. I wanted the backer to be an integral part of the building, and the sign just kind of complements that. That was phase 1, and I looked at it and said, yeah, this is looking good. But I felt it still lacked a little bit of personality. So I thought just a pair of black fabric awnings over the 2 windows would kind of tie in with the letters, give the building a little personality, a little dimension, and that brought it down halfway. So I felt I got half the building done. But it's, to me, it still seemed to lack something. And then I came up with the idea of just putting a couple of flower boxes under the windows to tie the entire facade in, top to bottom, left to right. The thing, it has a whole new curb appeal, very tasteful, very simplistic. And all the materials are gonna last for a long, long period of time. I brought a sample with me, and I'd like to show that to you guys. Essentially, okay, what this is the brushed aluminum background. And you can see it's a satin finish. So even if headlights were to hit it, it's not gonna illuminate. It's certainly not gonna have a plasticky look to it. The whole sign would be trimmed out with an aluminum border. And then the letters are individual and cut out and painted with a satin finish. So nothing bright, nothing gaudy, and you can pass this on, whatever you think. And that's the thickness of the sign, it'd be 1 inch. As far as the awnings go, well, it would just be a black sunumbrella fabric. So I just,
The aluminum is wider than this, though. It's coming up higher in the picture.
say that one more time.
In other words, the letters are, the aluminum is a bigger frame than this. Is that correct?
No, nope, the frame
Because
is,
if you can go back to that slide.
So it said balloon, it was 20 inches high.
Yes.
I think the whole sign would be 20.
Well, this is certainly less than 20.
Oh, no, this is sample, guys. This was just to show you.
Trying to ascertain the.
Oh, I get you,
In
yeah.
other words, there's the sign right there.
Yes,
Is that how it would be, the actual?
correct. So this just shows basically the backer. And then this would be the backer with the letters and the graphic added onto it.
Nice.
Backer.
Chair Convey, when the sample gets to the end, can you share it with whoever's watching?
Yes, absolutely. I do
Camera
have
up
to
at
do
the
it.
top of the screen.
What's this material made out of?
So it's called Sunbrella. It's a manufacturer's name. You've all heard of it.
Thank you. I'm a painter.
So right to the table.
You need this?
This face.
Thank you.
And
Thank
it
you.
would be an inch thick. And as you can see, there would be a molding, of course, that goes around the ends.
Thank you.
Flower boxes that that I mentioned would be made out of the exact same thing. So this is 1/8 inch thick, we call it ACM, aluminum composite material. So I would essentially just bend the flower boxes, match the contour, and then my 2 end caps would be PVC. So again, maintenance free, it's not something that John's gonna have to maintain and paint 3 or 5 years down the road, it's all maintenance free. However, I do want to make mention that on the flower boxes themselves, I did take the liberty to put some of the product that he offers. Might be auto insurance or life insurance or whatever the case may be. But again, it's not advertising the products necessarily. But when I looked at the flower boxes on the building in just black with the black awnings and the black letters, I'm like something needs to be added to the flower box just to give it some reason, some colors, some appeal. So that's why I did that. It says auto home life on the left and commercial insurance on the right.
Questions, Mike?
Yeah, I have one suggestion on the awnings. You could put Raymond Francis Xavier McCall.
Attorney.
That's a good idea. I think it looks great.
Or John J. McKenna. Didn't a car that crashed into the building, like,
Yeah, so, yeah.
yeah, crashed into, that's why the brick's there, so
Yeah.
nobody gets hurt. So,
It's been hit numerous times.
yeah,
On the side and in the front.
yeah.
They just hit the house to the right of it. Took out the fence.
It comes off.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to have the sign visible like that. I like the subtle changes with the awnings and the fact that you considered it being in the historic district and the way you designed it.
Thank you.
I like the brushed aluminum. That's really shocking. I only have one question. Does Debbie like it?
Wife loves
Okay.
Larry?
I have nothing to say.
Okay, Dan?
I'm fine with the appearance, and I don't know if this is something we can even discuss, but I'm just curious, the level of illumination. So I see you have 6 fixtures, looks like the hoods on them are aimed back, so it doesn't shine out into traffic, which obviously makes sense. I'm just curious, do you have a feel for like how bright that would be? Because at night, maybe something subtle, I don't know if maybe you would dim it a little bit, or I'm not saying turn it off, but.
A lot of the communities that I work in, we use what's called a PAR 20, which is, it's a flood as opposed to a spot.
Mhm.
Of course, everything is LED today. So the illumination is based on the projection. For example, if the projection was only 20 inches compared to a sign that might be 5 by 40 and the projection is 10 feet, then that's the illumination. So you choose the head and the lamp for how many heads you have per square feet of sign. So the object too is to capture the object, in this case, our letters. So
Yeah, I guess maybe it's just premature for me. I'm just wondering how bright it's gonna be at night, but my overall appearance, I like it, because right now it's very flat, plain facade. And you're gonna get more definition, so I'm good with it.
Yes, well, you are getting a larger sign, that's for sure. I mean, even though there's maybe the same amount of letters, but it's a lot easier to read. And yes, if it was just the top on it, you know, I not taking anything away from your design. However, if it was just the top, that would have been a bit much, you know, so by you adding in the flower boxes, it still is going to look, it is what it is. The building is a, you know, it's a square rectangle. So, you know, I think it's gonna be definitely good for business because it's a lot bigger, a lot more legible. And, you know, even though it is bigger, I really don't have a problem with it.
Richard?
I think the overall design is good. I do have a problem with the brushed aluminum. I don't think it's really fitting for the neighborhood that it sits in. I actually drove up to it today and going down Pollard Street, of course, it's very visible. And the aluminum gives it more of a contemporary look than I'm really comfortable with. I'd rather see some more colors that or color that is more in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood and the historic district. I don't consider brushed aluminum historic color. It may be fine for the 60s, but you know, we're in a neighborhood that's really reflects a little bit different era. Um, Other than that, you know, I think the design is fine. As far as the maintenance goes, you can have signs made that look like wood, like traditional signs, but are made out of you know, poly materials that'll same thing, they'll last forever, and it would still show up brightly depending on the contrast of the letters in the background.
can I give?
Your second feast done.
Yeah, sure. That'd be good. Mary? Mary Jones?
Yeah, I personally feel that it's overkill with all the lighting in that neighborhood. I would be happier if there were less fixtures. I just don't see the need for having that level of lighting in the neighborhood and with the business. And I too think it would be better to have a wood looking sign than the aluminum. Personally, so those are my two concerns.
John?
The thing with the historic nature of this building, I bought Captain McNulty's house, the family house up on Talbot Ave, and all those houses were the tenements for the mills. In around the river, there was businesses like you had canals, on the other side of the bridge, or at the end of Call Street, there was, you know, there's always convenience stores and small stores. And at this particular point, you come off the bridge and you have McBride's Insurance and the repair, and then you have St. Andrews in the park. Then the tenements start over there. the fact that when you come down and it comes in, it's actually a safety factor. I liked it because it stands here and it kind of separates it from over by McCaffrey's neighborhood over on the corner and by Mark O'Brien's house. But the building comes here as you come in. O'Brien faces this way. This is the church and that. So the neighborhood actually starts back here, and it's a separation. And when you look at this historic nature of what we're doing, we're doing, my properties and the tenements, they've all done so nicely in design for the late 1800s for the houses. But that's the way the stores were when I was a kid, and recognizes that. And I think for the safety reason, that building's been crashed into about 3 times. And if it was here and then all these houses were right around it, but it kind of stands alone. Like if you notice, O'Brien's faces the river, and then it starts there, and then you have the church there. I actually like it, and I like it for the safety reason of it. And knowing John and his attention to the town, the lights aren't gonna be shining on there 24/7. I mean, they're there and they're illuminated. It's not like it's illuminating out into the traffic, shining on the sign. Originally, when I saw the aluminum, or the brushed aluminum, I kind of, thought I didn't really like it much. But then when I thought about where it is and what it's doing, when they put the awnings on it, it looks real sharp. And it's sharp for what that building has and always been. It was Ray McCullough's law office with his dad's insurance in the 60s, 70s. And John continues on now, and John Jr. has it. I like it, and for safety reasons, and the fact that it looks like the stores that were in and around the Fort Way. They had the Minuteman paper was down there on the other side, and a couple small stores. So it's not like it's right in the middle of a neighborhood. So I appreciate, and I always looked to Richard and Mary's take on that with the wood, and I like to see wood. But in this particular thing, I don't know that the wood with the brick, I kind of like it for safety reasons and how they kind of tied it in.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm all set, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You mentioned early on that, and I remember even when I was a kid, the porcelain signs. And like you said, porcelain's really not being used anymore. This is basically a substitute for what would have been the old porcelain signs.
Well, they use both, quite honestly. Aluminum, with the enamel finish, we think of Coke and Pepsi and Gulf and Sinclair and everybody. That was what happens in the late mid-60s to 70s. So it's period correct.
I think that's what the Jim is saying, he's agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the objective was, because it's such a small area, and the readability is only seconds going through the either direction.
Right.
So if I don't have contrast, then I don't have an effective product. That was kind of the bottom line on that. New England carved signs, that's us. Carved wood signs, that's just talking about, that's us. Our logo, black gold, everything black gold. I didn't do that here because it wouldn't work here in this situation. I have such a slight height compared to my width that the only way to make it effective was to make it a 2-part story, a backer with a sign.
George?
Yes, I didn't notice all those lights until Mary McBride talked about it. O'Connor's just put a new light up over in their parking lot, and a few of my neighbors in the area thought they liked the sign, but the lights are pretty bright underneath them. And they're closed at night anyway, of course. So I was thinking that maybe a fluorescent light that ran across the top would be less throwing light out into the neighborhood than that. I know that.
I don't agree with that.
Well, it doesn't matter what you think,
Can I
Yeah.
interject on that one?
personally.
So with the LED lighting today, for example, we could do lighting as little as the microphones right there.
Okay, well, if that's what you plan on doing, then that would be
What
a
I
thing.
did was I chose the old gooseneck style lighting fixtures from the 70s.
But it doesn't matter how the lighting fixture is, talking about the light at night.
So my point is you could have the historic looking gooseneck lighting fixture.
Well, as long as that's gonna be something that we address here, that's all I'm concerned about.
Yep. And being 12 volt too with LEDs, then you can always have a rheostat on it. So it can be adjusted to any,
Well, that was my concern, because if anybody rode by the other day, you can see that the lights there. I mean, if you live next door, there's enough lights, ambient light around in the world too
Mhm.
much to begin with.
it's decorative, quite honestly, is more than functionality.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a brief follow-up. And maybe this is just an artifact of how you generate the image. Will the font spacing be consistent between the John McBride versus the insurance?
Yes, is it?
Yeah, insurance is much more widely spaced.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. So no, I would probably do it the way it is right there, because it's probably balanced with the building. So let's say I had 2 feet on the left, I need to put 2 feet on the right.
Mhm.
I don't know, that's a,
No, I'm fine with that. I'm just-
that's his logo, so I like it as a
I'm
logo.
fine with the logo. I'm fine with John McBride Insurance.
Yeah.
But just the space between the letters is different for insurance.
Yeah, I would say there's a reason for that, and it'd probably be his logo. I didn't design them. I uploaded it, so that's probably how his logo is on his envelope, on his webpage, or whatever. I didn't create that.
Just morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
Motion?
Motion to approve the application as a minor.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mike?
Aye.
John?
Yes.
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
No.
Mary Jones?
No.
And chair votes aye. So 6-2.
6-2. Don't forget your little piece of.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So Mr. Chairman, when the light is put up there, will we have any recourse on as the brightness of the light?
To my knowledge, the brightness of illuminating lights is not necessarily within our scope. It's when a sign is backlit, so I think we have more info on it.
So we're gonna have to go on their goodwill of the light. Okay, thank you.
He said. He may mention that the light,
He said 12 illuminations.
yeah, he said the illumination is based on,
So that would be up to the electrician.
Yeah.
But I did tell John I work with him, so I can make suggestions on the actual lamp as well as the fixture.
Yeah.
And the object would be that all we're trying to accomplish here is the effect, not the illumination. If we were talking about Target or Walmart, I want the illumination. I want to make sure you see it 5 miles from here. This is just for the historic effect of having gooseneck lighting fixtures. We're only gonna be projected 20 inches of that.
Okay, thank you.
So it's designed.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
okay, next 420 Boston Road is a minor. Right. You just sit down up here. Oh, you just identify yourself and, move address.
Michael Regan, 420 Boston Road.
I own the tattoo shop in the downtown. I'm looking to place a sign that continues the continuity of the white building that I'm in. What I have here, you draft up your hand on the signage myself, I'm going to do a letter myself to match what is on the Manja one, but make it black and white just because those are tasteful looking letters in comparison to the other ones that were there prior to the other business.
You're just doing the sign
It's gonna
Just
be-
over the shop?
Yeah, exactly where the old sign was. I still have the piece of wood. I've already taken the signage out. I can use that piece of wood, or I could go get one that's cut exactly the same thickness, et cetera, because for safety, that wood looks like it says.
Oh, probably.
Take it out, was that?
We all, I don't want to make you spend any more money than you have to, but we're also considering one of the signs that projects out, hangs from the, like the other shops.
Yeah, so we can do something like that, just the same, that font in the same shape. That's already kind of there.
Is that included in his application?
It is.
No, I actually was also looking at this morning and I didn't really.
Okay. That's something probably, if you want to do it, you can come back.
Yep.
Back to that, but this is just for over the door.
Mhm.
Okay. Michael,
Are you leaning towards the black and white?
Well, yeah, I drafted them both up just because I didn't know which one you guys had liked better, because I had seen the black and gold, and then there's the black and white of the building where I am. So whichever one,
I think in keeping with the rest of the building, black and white
okay,
probably be more appropriate. That's my only comment, Mr. Chairman.
John?
I think it'd be fine, he's following the same pattern as everybody else, and if he wants to have a projector sign, he can come back and have further application for that. Yeah, it's in keeping with the building. I think it's, thank you for coming in and respecting the sewer district commission.
Mary?
As I drive by, it looks like there's a fluorescent light there too.
so the neon lights are actually
Neon,
inside.
sorry.
Well, no, they're not neon, they're LED, they're
Okay.
actually inside the unit. They're 36 inches in.
Oh. Same. Same thing.
I had spoken to the building commissioner, as long as they're not in the window,
Mhm.
that's when it's signage. When it's up inside the business, that's when it's no longer considered.
Interesting.
Just one very minor question. I like the black and white, well, I guess two questions. Is it gonna say tattoo or big iron tattoo?
That's up to, that's whatever you guys think would look better. I could go either way. I'm gonna carve them by hand, so.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the other signs, like the one to the right that also has 2 rows of lettering.
I like this 2 rows, just because
So I
I think,
think-
but I didn't know you guys what's too much considered for you.
And I guess the only other question, although now that I see the Queen's nails, that's a very plain font. I like the fact that you have the serif font.
The serifs, yeah.
So I guess that's a bit better. Yeah, now that I realize all other signs are sort of different fonts, like,
Well, whenever I go to town hall downstairs, you guys had a beautiful, green, I believe enamel painted one, and I kind of looked at that and I figured that's kind of the direction you guys would run.
thank you.
George?
I think it's very nice. I think that, that the black and white would be better for your business anyway.
I agree, I just would say, I just drew which one.
And, you know, I wish you a lot of luck. over
Thank you,
there.
I appreciate it.
I think it's gonna look very nice.
Richard?
Yeah, I think the white background with the black letters to match the rest of the building is perfect.
Mary?
I agree. My only question, was the fluorescent lights inside the building, can those be removed? Or is that a
So
separate issue?
So the building commission already said that they're not considered advertised lighting because it's 30 inches in. So the question that I had was, where does that stop and where do I begin? And it's 24 inches. So they're not technically considered, they're inside the business.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if that's what the building commissioner says, I guess we have to go with that. And the sign itself, black and white on 2 rows would be good.
I go with your full name, Big Iron Tattoo. That's the name of your, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Hey, John?
Yeah, big iron tattoo. If the other sign said salon and just, groceries or something like that, then tattoo would have been appropriate. I think big iron tattoo, as Richard and the others said, George, the white and the black, I think it's good stuff.
Thank you.
Make the motion, John?
Motion to approve the application
Second,
It's a minor.
Moved and seconded. Richard,
Yay.
George,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Mary Jones,
Yes,
Dan,
yes.
Appreciate you.
Mary,
Aye.
Michael,
Why?
Chair votes aye, unanimous.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
day, guys.
Take care. Okay, moving on to our next item, ballot dam removal, requested continuance.
Chair, if I can
Yes.
this first. So at the last May meeting, you all had expressed your desire to wrap this up and you might be ready to vote at this meeting. We started doing the paperwork that would be necessary to get that ready and actually they found it, asked me. I didn't even find it. You have some more processes that are in your review standards, not in your bylaws. So they actually have some more submission paperwork they need to do to complete the application. It was a last minute find. Thank you guys for finding it for me. So they do need a little bit more time to put that official paperwork together. Some of the narrative that you've heard that it needs to be done with the demolition request, it's actually not a certificate of appropriateness, it's a certificate of hardship that they need to apply for. So when you apply for a certificate of hardship for demolition, under the review standards, there's these other submission requirements, such as show us I think it's the structural study, the financial impact, things like that you've been hearing the narrative on already, but just to kind of finalize that paperwork. So they do need more time. So this is really a joint request for everybody to get this wrapped up.
That gentleman still on the,
Mr. Lincoln?
Mr. Lincoln?
There are still a few people on Zoom, so if you want to open it up to the public,
No, no,
comment, just ask them to.
Mr. Lincoln had asked to speak on this. So.
Yes, and he has raised his up.
Public comments.
Do you guys have a presentation at all, or was it?
Presentation, we have some questions and whenever you're ready and, just.
They don't hear in person.
Mr. Lincoln, go ahead with your comment.
A little confused here. Are you saying that the application was not filed under the correct category in the first place?
No.
So Chair, if I may, you only have one application form, so it's just a matter of what the paperwork calls it at the end. So there's nothing wrong with what they filed so far. We just want to make sure we have those supplemental materials that it requires.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm still confused here. Forgive me. The application has a box to check for hardship, which was not checked, which certainly led some of us to believe that this was not a hardship application. Am I missing
That was-
something?
Absolutely, because under the bylaws, it just says minor or major development. Major development is a public hearing certificate for appropriateness. The definition of major development includes demolition. It didn't seem like there was anything to see there. So all of the processing has been moving forward. There's nothing wrong with what's been done so far. It just isn't complete yet.
Okay. I want to make one other comment. We'd like, since this has gone on for a long time, the Middlesex Canal Commission would like to reiterate that if the dam and the Summit Pond are allowed to be destroyed, Billerica will lose a critical part of its history. In fact, Massachusetts and indeed the entire country will also lose something important and priceless. And we recently received another note from Mr. Kelder about mitigation ideas, but we wanted to reiterate that no number of brass plaques, granite block assemblages, or pathway signs would make up for such a loss. And we look forward to a vote on this application. I guess we're assuming at this point, it's up to you, of course, at your June meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, you have anything?
No, I'm anxious to vote on this, so.
John?
No, they making their application and they should have the right to amend their application specifically to draw the attention to our form, which is, not being deceptive, but it's just being complete. I think that's appropriate and we should continue it, give them the time to do that. And address it at the next vote.
Mary?
I would like to hear their questions.
Maybe sort of a nuanced question. Who is actually filing this application? Because so far CRT Development, which I believe is still the owner, hasn't come before us. Have they delegated to,
We're the representatives, yeah.
okay. Trying to understand, thanks.
George?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I honestly have been researching this dam, looking at all the things, the history as I know living here and caring of being a history fellow to begin with. And I actually have not made up my own mind yet, so I still want to hear whatever presentations that the people are going to bring in front of us in full. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, and you had questions for us?
Did you want to finish off the commission members first or go ahead?
Oh, sorry, Richard.
Good thing you're here. You're very efficient.
Good thing we brought you with us.
Richard?
No, I have nothing to add at this time.
Okay, Mary?
No, I'm just anxiously waiting their presentation.
Okay, hi, thank you for having us here. I'm Jill Griffiths, Gomez and Sullivan Engineers, representing the applicant, CRT Development Realty, Robert Martin. And yes, as Kat mentioned, we started digging into this a little further in the bylaws and the review standards, and it appeared to us that this needed to be reviewed as a demolition project, which can only be granted a certificate of hardship. The other certificates don't apply in that case. So, we presented Kat with some questions and essentially we just want to understand. So under the review standards in the appendix, that there's a list of items that may be requested by the commission to fully understand and make a determination of hardship. So I believe that it's on the commission to tell us what additional materials they would want to see from that list or others. And I don't know if we want to work through that tonight in the room or if you want to get back to us in writing, but a lot of those aren't really applicable because they're more related to property value, appraisals, assessments, that sort of thing. And there actually is no parcel associated with this dam. So some of them are not applicable, but as you mentioned, like structural reports, condition assessments, that sort of thing, we can provide the dam safety inspection report and other information if that's something that you would want to see. And along those lines, I think at the previous meeting, when I called in, I asked if there's anything else you would like us to present or, any information that we could compile for you. And I think Mary had said she's actually awaiting our presentation. So please tell us what you would like to hear more about, and we are happy to present or provide more written information on whatever topics relevant to this jurisdiction.
And I'll just say quickly, I'm Susie Fresney. I'm with the Division of Ecological Restoration. And just to clarify some of the questions about the application and make sure we have the correct understanding. Based on your bylaws and the application form, it says there's just one application form and then the commission determines which is the correct certificate to review the application under. So we've been requesting continuance so that we can better understand how to help you correctly review our application. And we didn't get confirmation until just yesterday that yes, the certificate of hardship is the correct review standards. So couldn't really respond to that in time for this meeting, but we're happy to prepare the information that you request for the next meeting.
With regards to it would be a major, obviously, to the tear down of the major structures, it would be a major application. With regards to the hardship in the demolition. So in the application, if it was an old barn or an old house that being torn down, you got values of similar properties and the restoration, certain things, you show the hardship of the structural engineers. This is a dam, certainly unique as to that. So as far as the application, you're saying this, it's a major change to the historic district, it's a major application, and you're saying there's a hardship for whatever reasons you have. So the information that you provide, as far as like comparable, you're not gonna have a value of like the dam. There's like no value to a dam. It's not like bought and sold, but whatever you believe was necessary to prove your point of hardship, those are some areas that you can submit that from. As far as we really don't know, we're not damn experts, we're citizens that sit on the committee, but I would say that you submit whatever you feel is necessary to prove your case. We hear the presentation, if there's more information that may fall under that, so, well, this is, you know, very good, we'd like to see a little bit more on the structural side or something like that, or whatever it is. But I would say that you know, take the time and thank you for, like, again, following the procedures, respecting it. This is extremely important to this town, as you know, working on it for so long. But all the information presented, but presented as you feel to present your case. And if you, and as you're doing it, and you have any questions, you can certainly contact the planning director, and if there's some specific things that you have to ask them. I would say go through and use those areas that you see applies to you. So again, like if it was an old bond, it would be the value of the structural integrity of it, comparable cost. But I mean, this is a dam that's very unique. So as far as what should be submitted, I think we'd look to the engineers, to your presentation. It's like not all inclusive, but what you feel is necessary to show why
Okay.
it should come down. Does that help at all?
Yes, I do have a question about how the hardship is reviewed. Is that something you had noticed?
Yeah.
Or do you wanna maybe comment on that since?
And that's just my comment. I mean, I defer to Dan and others as well, but I mean,
Dan, do you have something?
yeah.
Well, just in the sense of defining what constitutes a hardship. I mean, I agree, it's gonna be very hard to ascertain a market value of a 2-century-old dam. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But the value doesn't seem to be a hardship. That seems something that would go towards mitigation.
Present that case, whatever you want to bring presented.
But in terms of hardship, I mean, my understanding of hardship is the difficulty of ongoing maintenance or ownership of the structure at issue. And so the hardship is really borne by CRT development. It's the hardship really has nothing to do with fish passage or some of these other ancillary things, which you've done a wonderful job documenting. But I'm just trying to determine the scope of our review and how much authority we have to consider things. And if it's purely a hardship, it seems to me, without looking at the definition of our bylaws, and I hope there is one, but it seems like the hardship is the burden borne by the current owner as a justification for the removal. And so I have no idea what CRT development has incurred over time. I don't know if it's appropriate to try and speculate on future costs projecting hardship in the future. So I'll just leave it at that.
I have a question in response to that. So there are some references in your bylaw standards to hardship of the landowner, but also to hardship of the land itself. Which is it? To the landowner?
Depends
to
on the
landowner?
case, depending how the hardship is dressed. It could be to the land, the topography of the land, the shape of the land, you know, it's whatever your application is, you need to apply for what you're doing, so it gives you.
Well, I'm wondering the definition that you review it under. So for example, hardship of the land or the property itself. You know, these bylaws were clearly not really thinking about a dam, as many of us were not really thinking about a dam when we wrote the rules of all the rules that regulate us. So let me just use a building for an example. So the hardship of the property is if by abiding by your bylaws or not receiving the correct, a certificate from the commission, that means that the property can no longer provide a return on investment or generate income that it's intended to. So if you owned a rental property and because you had to, you know, spend a certain amount of money in order to adhere to the bylaws, that made the rental property not able to provide a return on investment, that's a hardship of the property as
That
opposed
would have
to
to be
property
proven.
owner.
There could be a potential reason for why, but it may not necessarily be, so.
Well,
Right, so that's just an example of a hardship of the property. And then the hardship of the property owner is that the property owner doesn't have enough money to be able to meet your bylaws. Which is the one that you review it under?
Could be a combination.
But didn't we just establish earlier that there actually is no
need for them. It's a matter of me.
Yeah, pull it up.
It's their application.
I think it's conflicts in different areas of the
Which is why we're asking for
Yeah,
clarity.
and I don't know if it's the review standards versus the bylaws or just different areas of the bylaws, but there's definitely conflicting references.
Yeah,
So
I'm just
first-
recalling that earlier we established that there actually is no property. There is no
Right.
land associated with
Right.
the dam.
So there's that.
Since
It would have to
the
be.
dam itself is the property.
Okay.
So the argument would be it's a hardship on itself, which is kind of circular.
Hard to wrap your head around, yeah.
Which it truly is.
Mm-hmm. So Chair, what I have on the screen right now is the review standards, not the bylaw.
Mhm.
This is the section on demolition that we found in 2.1. So there is a presumption toward retaining all existing historic buildings. It goes on to say that a prerequisite shall be the certificate of hardship. So that's what we found. It shall include a financial report detailing the cost of rehabilitation, evidencing existing building is incapable of producing a reasonable economic return on the investment. I just want to say a few other things, and then let me just scroll down to section 6. We're almost there. And this is your process for certificates of hardship, where you have these two specific required findings.
I'm sorry, do you think we can see that?
So I think you can send your petition to say whether, what your hardship is, and then
Thank you.
for it, and then based upon your presentation, what your hardships are, based upon those facts, and we determine whether those facts are enough to issue a certificate under this standard.
We can do that. Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that we're demonstrating.
Appreciate that. It's still
The correctness.
things that you're doing, is trying
Yeah.
to put your best foot forward. See,
It's hard,
you think, George?
it's hard because it keeps referencing buildings.
Yeah.
Simple
That's
real-
another
That's
issue.
That's the biggest challenge we have, trying to figure out what to give you.
Yeah.
In terms of how you can actually review this in relation to your bylaws and your standards, because it's hard to make a lot of them apply.
Well, I guess the key is to interpret it as closely as possible to the
So
underlying.
it says building or structure right there.
Yeah.
Specific building or structure.
A few
This is the Structure.
A few places mention structure. Structure is defined earlier in the definitions. It's mostly referring to land-based structures such as sheds, signs,
Right.
etc.
Driveway.
Another,
Concrete wall that's holding back water,
Yeah.
is a structure.
another
Nobody.
type of structure that is like, I think most similar to a dam that is not in these review standards is bridges, because that's infrastructure. So I'm curious,
Yeah, this would be a
if there was
structure.
ever a
It's not a
bridge.
building,
Okay.
because it's not used
Yeah.
to occupy or store something. This is a structure used to hold back water.
Definitely, yeah, I just wondered.
Purposes of historic mills that are in and around it. So this would be a structure, different was structure, it's a structure.
I was just curious if there was a historic bridge, that was needed to be updated for transportation, if that's
The
something
old
that was.
North Bridge is just downstream. That's a historic bridge, the old North Bridge in Concord.
Mhm.
And then did that go through your review?
No, that's in Concord.
That's a Concord.
Oh, but like, what about the Pollard Street Bridge when that was redone?
Fordway, I
Yeah.
think your owners built that bridge illegally back at the turn of the century. They changed the course of the river, flooded out the farm.
I thought it was redone recently, but maybe
I
not.
was, he was there. Yes, does that help at all? Construction, building, we need to put the petition for this structure.
Yeah.
George?
Yes, I've researched the hardship a bit, and there is no environmental hardship, component, is there?
There,
I
believe.
mean,
There is
your
one
main
section.
reason.
I'm
Yes.
curious how you interpret it.
Different petition.
That, here, let me pull it up
And
once.
why I'm saying that is that your main argument is that it is an environmental hardship for the future of sustained fisheries.
Right. And also,
So that would be
Flooding
to
and-
me. And the only other thing I would say, if this man that owns the dam that said that there was an oversight, that's when he sold the building, he ended up keeping the dam, which I don't really pay much merit to that.
it happens all the time and it's
Well,
absolutely.
I'm sure it does, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it could, if it, I'm like, I'm not even want to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
However, it seems hard to believe that he knew that their dam was there, this historic dam. However, I think that if the town would consider taking which I really would like to see that, I would like to see the town take ownership of the dam. Yeah, because why wouldn't the town take ownership if you're gonna let this guy, what is he gonna be on the bag if the dam fails someday and something gets flooded? And I think that there's a way to make electricity from this area.
Fortunately, it's not, there's not much
There's
Not
not.
much, but you could.
Yeah, I'm rephrasing it. There's no potential for economic gain. I'd prior that.
Not for your guy, but for us.
In terms of the application, and getting turn it into a hydro dam. Do you have any other questions with regards to the application? I know it may not be perfectly defined for you, but just present the best application you can forward, and as you do it, if you have any questions, you can submit them. If you need further review, you can come back. Certainly want you to be able to put your best foot forward.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I don't know if I have other specific questions at this time.
Well,
Just in relation to the hardship of the river, I didn't find that in your bylaws or review standards, but there is a section that says the historic character and environments and associated with the river banks shall be protected.
And that would revert back until before the dam was built.
Depends how you
interpret it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I'll just note that our lawyer, I think, is also on, and she may have some other comments or questions.
What's your name?
Her name's Tori, sorry.
Yes, she's had her hand up a couple of times and then she's lowered it.
Okay. Oh, she
has
probably
other
wanted to be able to
Raise
jump
her
in.
hand again. Does she need to raise her hand to be unmuted? Okay. Yeah. Lori?
Go ahead. You're muted.
She's working on it.
What's going on?
So as host, I can ask her to unmute. I can't unmute her.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Or I can't just listen in.
Could you text her,
So.
say that she's muted?
She said it won't let me unmute.
She could call in.
Can you, throw her to a speaker?
Did she hit the space bar?
That's
Okay, try holding the space bar down. I love that shortcut. Oh.
did it.
Good thinking, Mike.
You hear us?
You can, yeah, she said it. Working on it, but I think Kat's gonna try to promote her to a speaker.
She just declined it.
Oh.
You have to click yes within 30 seconds.
Oh.
Is she getting paid by the hour?
You know,
Very smart.
Said she didn't decline it. She's not sure what happened.
it times out.
Oh, here she is.
There you go.
Oh.
If she doesn't have a question, she can lower her hand.
I could call her just on here.
Sure.
Just imagine. And then tell me.
Yeah.
Hey, Tori. Yes, should I put you on speaker? Okay, 1 second.
Thanks.
Do you want to come right up here?
The mics are in the ceiling.
Sure. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
The mics are in the ceiling. There.
Oh, okay.
Stand up on the.
I think if you, I can hear you, yeah. Can you all hear her as well?
Bring it up here.
Sure. Okay, go ahead, Tori.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, Tori.
I'm really sorry about that. I've never been that embarrassed about not being able to unmute, but for some reason on my phone, it would not let me unmute. Something to do with the privacy.
I think every person on this board has had that happen, so go ahead. If you have any questions, go ahead.
I appreciate you so much allowing us to get another continuance to try to get to the heart of this hardship application, which now we are happy to know that that is the direction that we need to go for this project. So I think we have some work to do for that, to get you the information you need to evaluate that. And we just appreciate your time tonight, and thanks for answering our questions.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tori.
All right, thanks,
Thank
Tori.
you. All right.
Anybody else got their hand up? Bring me.
There are currently no hands raised.
John, I'll entertain a motion to continue, public hearing.
Make a motion to continue until June 4th, 2025.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Richard,
Aye.
George,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Mary, Jones,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Mike,
Aye.
chair votes aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. We're sorry that we bothered you or your
Oh,
child.
that's okay. It worked out. I just stood there in the hallway of school and I was able to meet up with them after, and they didn't hear any else anyway. so.
Please keep in touch with Kat.
Okay.
and
Will do.
she's really good.
Could you confirm the date of the next meeting? There is a conflict with this one between the schedule online and
Continued to June 4th.
June fourth.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I will verify that really quick on the screen because we did not do this last time.
Well, it's always the first Wednesday unless we change it.
Unless we changed it with
That's
the
what I
annual
was
calendar,
thinking.
which is what we had attempted to do for this meeting. So
June-
we had originally planned this to be April 30th. We ended up going with May 7th anyway. June 4th has always been and will continue to be the meeting next month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much.
Bye.
Yeah, minutes.
I don't remember seeing this. Do we have any? I sent them to you
Yes.
guys. I'm sorry. Can we hear them the next time?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I have a lot of minutes.
You've got hours, you don't have minutes, you got hours.
I'm sorry, Joyce. No.
And no miscellaneous correspondence, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, do adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you later, Mary.
Okay.
Bye-bye.